Welcome to the official podcast of Cardinals Nation 24/7. Each week, we put a unique perspective on bringing you the latest news, updates, and rumors of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball organization. Join the nation and stay informed by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, subscribing to us on the podcast form of your choice, and most of all, by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you all for supporting the nation. Let's get things started. Here are your hosts, Jared Redwine, Chris Lawless, and Larry Cox.
Hello, Cardinals Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 official podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jared Redwine, and I am joined as always by the founder of Cardinals Nation 24/7, Chris Lawless, also known as Dragon himself, and always our partner in crime, the living legend, Larry Cox. Good evening, my friends. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Doing good here.
Guys, we've got some news, and I guess I'll just take us straight into the latest, and we'll cover some stuff in regards to the injured list. Carlos Martinez has been sent to the 10-day IL, and they've recalled Oviedo in his absence. Apparently, he sprained his ankle before he made his last start, celebrating the Jack Flaherty home run, and it's been bothering him ever since, and they've made the move now to place him on the 10-day IL. So, Chris, we saw him get travel. Do you think it was more a mental deal in the game, or maybe because his ankle was still affecting him?
It's hard to say. I mean, it come out that he was, hurt before that start and went out and wanted to pitch anyway. I don't know. I mean, I hated to hear that was how he got injured, but hopefully it is a short stint because he was getting it together and was looking pretty sharp, and you hate to see, any kind of momentum, stop that. So, hopefully he heals up and Oviedo does well in his absence.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Oviedo a couple times now, Larry, and he's looked pretty well. I mean, the last game got a little out of hand before he was taken out of the game. But do you like what you've seen so far from Oviedo, and you feel pretty comfortable about him taking Carlos' spot?
I really do. I think the kid brings a lot of talent, and I think it's the whole getting experience in the major leagues. He mixes the pitches well. He throws a good game, so he's got the variety. It works out well. So I'm pretty excited to see him. We talked about spring training since. So
yeah, and then Larry, on the flip side of that, I'm going to go back to you. Hicks, it looks like he's going to be out longer than we thought originally. They said 4 weeks originally. Now it looks like he's going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks with no baseball activity. He's getting some kind of biologic injection, which is, I guess, some kind of natural antibodies from the human body. They, inject into a part of the body that needs, I don't know, I haven't done any work. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but some kind of new experimental treatment. But he's going to be out for at least 6 weeks, and that's not throwing a ball. So he's probably going to be out past the All-Star break. What do you think that means for Hicks after missing last year and then Tommy John?
Well, again, the fact that he's a diabetic, they were really cautious with him last year. Then this setback really does hurt the kid. I thought that he was struggling anyway, so it's kind of I hate to say a mixed blessing, but I think sometimes when a young player struggles, sometimes a minor injury, to be sent down and kind of work it out is sometimes a good thing. But nobody wants to see the kid hurt. Yeah, I mean, you got to be cautious because the kid is still 24 years old, 23 years old, and 104 mile an hour doesn't come from just anybody. So.
Yeah, it's just kind of sucks for him after, taking off because of the COVID season last year and then Tommy John the year before that. But, Chris, we seem to have this problem a lot with the Cardinals with players getting injured, and I know they go for second opinions and put things off for a long time, but it may sound like he's possibly headed toward another Tommy John surgery, and hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. I mean, we've said that there is a number of pitchers that can come up and kind of fill that void. But, like Larry said, you don't want to see anybody injured. He wasn't particularly sharp, but, he was throwing some heat, and, you kind of got your hopes up thinking, hey, maybe he could step into that closer role and let Reyes come back and be a, potential starter or give you some long relief. But Reyes has been holding down that closer spot, looking sharp. So, Hicks is fit with the team. He definitely had a role in the bullpen, but, going forward, it's going to be, a long time without him. So hopefully we got some guys that will come in and step up in his absence too.
Yeah, one of our benefits we've talked about all year pretty much is our strength in arms and the bullpen one of those areas to where we've had just a plethora of young arms, and we've been moving people up and down. It seems like since the season started via the taxi squad and also through the alternate site, and minor league baseball has begun. So I'm sure we're going to see some more of it depending on how the season goes. But rounding out some other injury reports, John Nagowski, he's been in AAA. He's been in 3 games already, 8 at bats, 1 hit, 1 RBI. He's batting 125, so making a very slow comeback. So nothing to set the world on fire. He's still officially on the IL. Mikolas was 0-1 before today, which is Tuesday, but an ERA over 7. He only pitched 2 innings and a third, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, walked 1, struck out 3, and his opponent average is 269, but he made a start today. And he allowed 3 runs all in the first inning, worked 4 innings total, but didn't walk anyone. Did strike out 5 through 69 pitches, so his second start, he's allowing some runs, but no walks. But it's hard to tell with these type of things, right, Larry? I mean, a lot of this could just be him working on pitches and not really them being concerned with getting outs. It's him trying to get the feel for in-game situations, or do you think maybe this earned run average and some of the trouble could be a bad sign?
The good sign, like you said, is the no walks. He didn't give up any walks. When you're doing those rehab assignments, it's best if you just pitch to contact. And minor leagues, those guys hit, and the fielding may not be as good as what we have in St. Louis, of course. So the fact that he's not walking is huge, especially right now. We know the rotation's kind of hurting on the walk side. So the addition of him coming back and Carlos going down, I mean, it's a mixed blessing. Again, like I said earlier, that we don't know what he'll have until he actually steps foot in St. Louis or wherever they bring him up to. So, yeah.
Chris, your thoughts on Mikolas so far? Do you think his stats and runs allowed is a little alarming, or do you think it's just him getting the feel for things and working out all his pitches and not too overly concerned?
It's probably a little bit of both. I mean, his first year with the Cardinals, he was pretty well lights out and was something to get excited about. But really, since then, he's provided some good pitching, but, he hasn't been consistently probably what we expected. He's had some rough outings. And, for him to be injured as long as he's been hurt, I wouldn't want to rush him back. I know Mo wanted to see about 4 outings, down in Memphis before he feels comfortable bringing him back. So if he's getting roughed up already, I would rather him get another couple starts down there and kind of polish it up, because you call him up, obviously you're going to be pushing Gant to the bullpen. Gant's had some trouble with walks, but for whatever reason, Gant's been getting through some games. You'd hate to see Mikolas come up and just take that spot and ERA blow up through the roof. So I think it's probably a mixed bag with Mikolas.
Yeah, obviously we're hoping he comes back and be effective for the team, and there's no point in rushing that, especially like we just talked about with all the arms we have. Kim is still making his way back, really. I mean, in today's game against the Brewers, he probably looks the best he has all season. He hasn't pitched bad. He just hasn't been going deep. And we don't want to overtax the bullpen by having a bunch of guys coming back that are only, going 4 innings. So, hopefully he works it out. I kind of like what you said, the 4 starts, at least 1 more, and then just 1 more to fine tune some things would be kind of nice. But rounding out the IL, we still have Ponce, which is shoulder issue. There's been no word that I could find anywhere on that. And then Andrew Miller still has that blister on his toe, that horrible blister. It's got him in ICU. He's going to be out for a while. Moving right along from the injured list, we're going to move on to Hall of Fame. And you guys, Keith Hernandez was elected to the Cardinals Hall of Fame by the fan ballot voting. He's going to be inducted this year on the 21st of August. Yeah, he beat out Steve Carlton, Matt Morris, Edgar Renteria, and Lee Smith to get the fan vote. He played 10 seasons in St. Louis, you guys. 299 batting average, 385 on base, and 448 OPS. 265 as far as doubles go, 81 home runs, 595 RBIs, 662 runs, and he played in 1,165 games and amassed 1,217 hits. Chris, what are your thoughts on Hernandez making it in over the other guys, and do you think it was the right choice?
He had my vote. Again, I don't want to just say that longevity, kind of gives him the edge, but when you've got 6 straight Gold Gloves, and even though some of his playing time was before my time, everybody says, he was the best fielding first baseman that the Cardinals have ever had. Just his footwork, If you're looking at the offensive side of the ball, I mean, in his 10 years, 299 average. I mean, I don't think you could ask for more there either. I know he did have the falling out with the cocaine and the stuff like that shipped him off to the Mets, and that's kind of been what some of the fans have not been too happy with why he's got inducted. But he got my vote, and some people say that with the Cardinals Hall of Fame that we're kind of letting too many people in, and what the criteria should be. Lee Smith, I would have been a really big advocate for, but 4 years, I think, I don't know if I'd like to see the Cardinals maybe stretch that out to a minimum of 5 years with a club to be qualified or not. But yeah, Keith Hernandez had my vote. I think he's well deserving of it.
Yeah, Larry, I mean, your thoughts, obviously you get to looking at some of these guys too, and they all had some really good numbers. Steve Carlton was pretty amazing. Matt Morris, surprisingly, was a very good Cardinal. Edgar Renteria was probably one of the best shortstops at his time, at the time of being in, the Cardinal system. And then Lee Smith was pretty, amazing coming out of the bullpen. Well, what are your thoughts on Keith Hernandez, and do you think the fans made the right choice?
Well, I differ a little bit from Chris because I am old enough to remember when he played. He broke my heart when all that came out. I mean, we were the team that, those teams of the 80s, they were just amazing to watch. Keith Hernandez by far had the best glove at first base I think I've ever seen of any team. I don't care what team you want to talk about. He got to everything near him. I mean, that's just how it was. Then on the offensive side, he could crush the ball. He could hit opposite field. He was an all-around great ball player. Then when all of it came to light between what happened and he got shipped off to the Pond Scum Mets, he started bad-mouthing the team. He started bad-mouthing the front office. He hated Whitey Herzog, and that's why I can't live with that. I'm sorry. He bad-mouthed this team, and it was his own fault. Now, I realize that if I was relieved of my team, I'd probably have hard feeling toward him as well, that I would probably say things, I'm sure. But even as a broadcaster, he still said stuff about the Cardinals organization. Until lately, he didn't have a positive thing to say about the Cardinals. To me, that doesn't garnish him getting a red jacket. I don't care what he's done on the field.
Yeah, it kind of goes against the standard, of the quote-unquote Cardinal way and the tradition that they've had in the past. But, I think leaving it up to the fans is one of the things. Maybe a lot of people probably weren't too happy with him, but the fans' vote, it kind of takes it out of their hands, and I guess it's kind of a good thing to give the fans a voice. But I was surprised he got voted in just because, a lot of the people that are probably voting are trending toward a younger fan. I was surprised, like a Matt Morris or Edgar Renteria didn't get the vote, honestly, just because more memorable and Morris was around during the Edmonds and Roland tenure and stuff of that nature. So I thought it would be somebody else. So Hernandez, figured out a way to lock it down. And I saw an interview with him where he appeared to be pretty happy with making it, which I guess anybody would be. But I guess we'll go. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I think a lot of it was that these young people that are the voters. That's not the older people that seen him play that voted. And so what they did was they just looked at the numbers. That's all they did. They didn't live through the history of what happened, and that's the way I look at it. So I'm very adamant about Hernandez because, like I said, he's one of those players that I really did like of that era. They were just. It was like, okay, they just took your heart and just ripped it out. I mean, everybody here got mad when Pujols left of his own free will because he got paid. Well, I'm sorry. This guy got traded because he was a drug addict. I'm sorry. He sold in the clubhouse. How does that lead to Cardinals' way is beyond me. So, sorry.
Yeah, I'm surprised in that case, he would even qualify to be eligible for the vote. Well, who would you, Larry, if you had to pick it? I can't remember. I know we've talked about this earlier in the year, but who would have been your pick over Hernandez?
I would have taken Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton's one of my favorite players. The guy did everything the Cardinals asked him to do. He didn't ask to be traded. And then, the story goes, of course, he was headed to meet with the GM and go ahead and take the deal when they had already shipped him off for what, $3,000 difference. So,
yeah, I think when we talked, I voted almost 10 times, and I would say probably 8 of those or 7 of those were for Lee Smith. And the reason I just voted for him is just because even, Closers have it tough now, but even like back then, a closer was pretty well lights out, and they would pitch multiple innings. And Lee Smith was just a shutdown closer. He didn't walk guys. He wasn't with the Cardinals for a long time, but he was pretty well lights out. And I just think that's impressive. And you see some of these guys or some of these teams that have these shutdown closers. You can definitely tell. And we just, as in St. Louis, we haven't had one for quite a while. The last great closer we probably had was probably Suter. And Izzy was a good closer for a year or two, but then he got rocky as well, and we just struggled to fill the void. We even had Edward Mojica closing for us for a year, and he did a serviceable job. And then in 2011, down the stretch until Mott came into, Fernando Salas led us in saves. So, I mean, it's just we haven't – and we forget about Mott, and Mott was a good pitcher for what he was, but he never held up anywhere else, and he could just throw fast, but he had no clue where it was going.
Don't forget your all-time favorite, Ryan Franklin.
Ryan Franklin, I liked Ryan Franklin as a person, but I did not like him saving games. There wasn't any difference between him and Mott. It seemed like our closers always have tendency to walk people. Even Reyes this year now, for as good as he's pitched, he still walks way too many people. We've had a bit of a control issue this year in St. Louis, is my opinion for the most part.
I think we're picking those corners. We're trying to when you're aiming for 3 inches on each side of the plate. Aim small, miss small.
I heard Alex Reyes was going to have Aerosmith's "Walk This Way" be his walkout song.
So stupid. I was going to try not to laugh. You're so dumb. Chris, speaking of Hall of Fame, we're going to feature Cardinals Hall of Famers. Adam Wainwright has been very impressive this year. He's 2-3 on the year. He's been the victim of some unfortunate circumstance when it comes to not getting the wins when he's been pretty lights out as far as pitching goes. 3.80 ERA, started 7 games. He's got a complete game in there, which didn't result in a win. 42 strikeouts, 12 walks, and we kind of touched on it with Hernandez and Lee Smith, and his time with the Cardinals, his whole professional, career in the Major League Baseball, that is, other than the minor leagues, has been with the St. Louis. And he's still looking like he could pitch more after this year. But either way, you have to be impressed with what Waino's brought to the table and how he's performed. And just, I just wanted to touch on it real quick and get your guys' thoughts since we were talking about Cardinals Hall of Famers, and he's going to be a future one. And just your thoughts on his good start to the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that, Wainwright, when he takes the mound, I mean, he takes the mound expecting to win. He expects good results. Even when he's up to bat, he gets frustrated if he strikes out. He just wants to be great. I'm a little surprised, I think, at some of the distances that he's went so far because, given the amount of miles on that arm, it's kind of shocking that he would be the one to get you 9 innings out of the young arms that we do have. But yeah, I mean, he's just a consummate professional. Gives you a chance to win every night. That's what you ask for. And I could see him wanting to play another year if he keeps this up.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to think, Larry, with Waino's production this year, with those 42 strikeouts and 12 walks, he's got the same exact number of starts, strikeouts, and walks as Jack Flaherty does. And Jack is 6-0. With a 1 point better ERA, 2.83. Jack's had a lot of run support, but for them to both be pitching basically close to the same, and you've got a huge difference in age and what, Jack's able to do a lot more as far as movement with the ball and intensity, of course, due to his age. But to see that they're both good buddies and, taking hold and leading this rotation with Jack basically being our in-house ace, as you call him, Larry. I know that's how you dubbed him. And then you have Waino being like the legend, basically mentoring him. It's kind of nice to see them both with some parallels.
Yeah, you get the experience of Waino and helping a young pitcher through, because we know Jack Flaherty for a long time, he leaned on Bob Gibson. That was his go-to mentor. But having those guys in the dugout, especially Yachty and Waino walking through a lot of stuff, that's helped a lot. But it just seems like I don't understand why the team puts out such an output of runs scored every time Flaherty's up. You would think that they'd be scoring just as many runs for Waino as they would Flaherty, that like they did a couple years ago or last year, or 2 years ago when they gave him all the runs. But It's nice to see it. It's nice to see that Wayno's going to go out successful if this is his last year. So,
yeah, I mean, they're both pitching well, and our rotation has been a lot better. And I think we get credit for it while we're first in the National League. And it looked a little rocky there to start the year. We had trouble getting out of the fifth inning. Reyes, he's 10 saves and 10 save opportunities. His ERA is .53. He's got 19 strikeouts, but he's walked quite a few guys. He's walked 13 batters in limited time. Your early thoughts on Reyes basically becoming the de facto closer, and what do you think he needs to work on to solidify that spot?
I mean, he's been a pleasant surprise really taking on that role on, being able to get it done. It's not always clean the way that he's doing it, but he's got filthy stuff that we'd like to see that maybe more in a starter role where he gets going, has innings to blow away batters and not just put into that role. But, they interviewed him and asked him how he feels, being comfortable in that role. And he said he's adapted to it fine. He'd be lying to say he doesn't miss starting, but, he does look forward to getting that ball in those crunch time situations. So I like what I see out of him. I think maybe, not overpitch sometimes. I think he gets maybe, I don't know the right word. Maybe he gets too ahead of the count and has to pitch himself out of a jam, less walks. I think he'll be fine.
I think what you're trying to look for. I know exactly what you're talking about. He's trying to do a little too much. Just pitch to contact. It's kind of like Wainwright. Wainwright's doing a perfect job of showing people you don't have to pitch. You don't have to throw 100 miles an hour, and you don't have to have a crazy, cutter like Mariano Rivera. You just have to be able to locate your pitches and mix them well and throw hitters off balance. And that's what he's been doing. But Larry, we started this year with no closer, and it was going to be closer by committee to not naming one. To Reyes was named the closer like 3 games in. And then Hicks was coming back, and you had Gallegos. But now with Gallegos kind of, solidifying his spot toward the back end of the bullpen, but not closing, and Hicks being hurt, Reyes is pretty much his job to lose, and it looks like he's going to be stuck there for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said that, he was the number one prospect for a long time. We just kept waiting and waiting for him to mature. Then, of course, the incident where the 50-game suspension, the break the hand, then some injuries. But I think this kid has definitely stepped up trying to show what he's made of, and I think he's done a hell of a job. But like Chris said, the one thing I think he's still going to learn is pitch to contact. You got Gold Glove defense behind you. Let him play it. So, and I think that's an experience thing, and I think Waino, in his ear, and Yachty, those will be the 2 biggest positive influences he'll have.
Yeah, if you're joining us now, I'm Jared. I'm joined with Chris and Larry. We're talking Cardinals baseball here. This is our 15th episode. So being 15 episodes in with additional to our bonus episodes, we want to thank everyone that has liked and subscribed. We're vastly approaching 750, so we appreciate the support from everybody that's been checking us out and being loyal and watching us week in and week out. But Chris, do you have anything you want to throw in as far as updates for Facebook or people on YouTube?
No, we keep the Facebook page keeps inching closer to 65,000 followers. The Facebook group is getting close to 40,000 members. So both those numbers keep growing. Like you said, the YouTube channel, we're at episode 15 tonight, and getting close to 750 subscribers, which is awesome. It's a testament to everybody out there that not just tunes in, but helps us out by spreading the word. And we hope that fans will continue doing that. We try to put out good content that is enjoyable, informative, and at times humorous. We're not experts, we're just fans, but we do have a unique spin on Cardinal baseball that we like to share with you guys. So we appreciate everybody that tunes in.
Yeah, well said. And another thing that coming into this episode, guys, one thing that's been kind of surprising, especially as of late, has been the offensive numbers, especially guys getting on base. Larry, we saw the movie Moneyball where they just basically talk about how in the new day of statistics, that's what's more important is, who's going to get on base and so on. And number one on the team for that so far has been Dylan Carlson. He's got a 384 on base percentage. Edmonds right behind him at 346, and you have Arenado at 340. But you have to be, I know we talk about it every week, but just guys getting on base and doing the little things in baseball. Even DeYoung, that has a low batting average, seems to be doing things here and there where it counts, even though he's hitting under 200. He's leading the team in home runs. But you have to be kind of happy, Larry, with the offensive production that we've been seeing, especially as of late in this last 17-game stretch we just played.
Yeah, I think Jeff Albers, he needs a pay raise. He kind of jumped from last year being the GOAT of the reason we're not scoring to now I don't hear anybody giving him credit for all the scoring we're doing. The biggest thing is, good things always happen when you put the bat on the ball. And I think that's what we're doing more. The ball's in play. We're still having those nights where we're struggling against the no-name pitchers. We're striking out. Those are the biggest headaches they just make you pull your hair out. I've been really impressed with Dylan Carlson. What can you say? The kid's just lights out that they've, as advertised. When he dropped to that number 2 spot, I think it really excelled him. Again, we're going to talk about, Edmund and how well he's played. He's made us forget who Colton Wong even was right now because of his hitting and his glove. I mean, he just turns it in every night. It's a shame to see Goldie struggling like he is. But I think we kind of seen that last year or the year before last when they switched his spot from 3 to 4 and 4 to 3. I don't know if that's him or maybe that's just a mindset or maybe because, he has a notorious slow starts as well. Usually he heats up in June. Usually that's when his biggest months are. But yeah, this is amazing to watch these guys hit and from all the different spots. It's not just one player. So
Yachty's having a great offensive year, Chris, and seems like Goldschmidt is not really up to par with the rest of the guys yet. But then he'll come out and have a game where he gets 4 hits, and then he won't do anything for 4 or 5 games. So the pressure hasn't really been there, and Goldie hasn't been thrown out in the forefront of like why is he not producing with guys like Yachty and the rest of the bunch doing what they're supposed to. But Yachty's offensive production with him still technically probably being a little hurt and not at 100%. You have to be happy with what you've seen so far, just out of the batting order and how things are starting to kind of come together for the team.
Yeah, 1 through 4 is pretty tough. We kind of expected between Arenado and Goldschmidt that you're gonna have professional bats from those two. No question. Tommy Edman. We didn't know exactly what he would be offensively, but he's turned into the prototypical leadoff guy. You sandwich Carlson in between. He's done great ever since getting slotted in that 2 spot. Yachty being Yachty, the ageless wonder. I can't believe he's been hitting at such a high clip. But then you run into the bottom half of the order, and where there are some potential outs there with the young not having a high batting average, he can go off on any given night. Tyler O'Neill has power and some speed that can go off on any given night. And Bader's looked pretty good since coming back himself. So there's not really guaranteed outs at the bottom. And when you have a top to bottom that there are some threats sprinkled out throughout, I think that's a reason why the Cardinals are so successful right now.
But Chris, I want to go circling back to you on this one. The offense, we kind of have to be happy with what we've seen. We talked, the 3 of us talked about the batting order earlier in the year and how we would make some changes. Not that we know everything there is to know, have it all figured out, but we've seen this batting order kind of be solidified now, and the lineup looks to be pretty regular day in and day out. And Carlson now on the 2-hole, obviously he's helping him well. He's on a 7-game hit streak. And you just have to think overall it has to be good for the team, I think, just for mental preparation. They know where they're going to be at in the order. They know who's in front of them, who's behind them. But you think that has to have a little bit of an impact on their performance and their numbers this year when in years past, we wouldn't know who's going to be starting and what batting order we were going to see because it would just the last several years, even back to LaRusse, it seems like it would change so much.
Yeah, players are a creature of habit, and they like to be in a certain position, kind of knowing where in the lineup they're going to be batting. I've always been an advocate of saying, we much prefer seeing a lineup in ink than in pencil. But, at times you do have to adjust on the fly. Or like Goldschmidt, for example, if he struggles, I could see maybe flip-flopping him and Arenado. But basically, I like what I see out of these guys. You're not seeing much of like Justin Williams anymore since Bader's back. They kind of maybe play Lane Thomas here and there, but you basically got your lineup. And with getting the reps, I think that's given some confidence. And, I think that's needed, especially for these young guys, to get consistent at bats. And you're not having to look over your shoulder thinking, if I have a 3 strikeout day, I'm getting benched tomorrow. I think that pressure kind of raises off the shoulders of a Tyler O'Neill or Harrison Bader.
Yeah, and we had that same thing with Justin Williams, right, where he was playing a lot of games, Larry. And now the flip side of this, with having a lineup that's in pin, so to speak, as Chris touched on, is we don't see much of our bench. We haven't seen much of our bench. We haven't seen Carp, since things have been solidified, the bench guys like Sosa and stuff, we don't really see much. And, we've got some guys that probably would see more playing time elsewhere, like Kinsler did quite well during Molina's timeout. But your thoughts? I mean, it's good to have a lineup in pen, but also you worried about rust on some of these guys that are not getting in the game as much.
Well, we used to always refer to the Mike Matheny era of the Sunday night lineup. Unless they were on ESPN, they always had basically the second tier players play. And that's kind of, I think, what you're going to start seeing a little bit of that. I think right now with the return of a lot of these guys from the IL, Bader and even Yachty, I think it's going to be more of trying to get a continuity and getting everybody where they need to be. Because if you start mixing in, there's too many moving parts. You can't figure out who should be where. And I think the fact that O'Neill and Bader have actually, hit pretty well, and they're playing better defense out there. We've seen a couple of miscues where one's not called the other one off or has. And so I think that's part of it. They got to start playing more together. We've said that from the very beginning that Edman should be put a second, left alone. None of this outfield, infield stuff. He's not a utility player anymore. He's a starting second baseman. Let him stay there. Carlson, put him in right field. Leave him alone. Let's just see what the kid's got. And sorry, Duffy, he's a right fielder, not a center fielder. So I think that's the other advantage of it too. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're right too. It's let some of these younger guys get comfortable. They know what they're going to be doing. They don't have to think, okay, where am I going to be at today? What glove do I need to bring to the park? Do I need to be stretching for running the outfield, or am I going to be taking ground balls? I think it does. It does factor in. Everyone wants to know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they're gonna give the political answer and say, yeah, well, just anywhere you can go to help the team win is what 98% of guys are going to do. But I think it definitely helps. So. Again, thanks for joining us. Please, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, share, drop a comment. Those of you that already are, we appreciate the continued support and joining. Myself, Chris, and Larry, once again, every week, we do appreciate the support. The Cardinals are currently playing 3 games in Milwaukee starting today, Tuesday the 11th. That's going to end out on Thursday. And then from there, the team is going to head to San Diego for 3 games and a weekend series from Friday to Sunday against the Padres. Padres are always a fun team to watch, Chris. Cardinals are going to be heading out to San Diego, but just got word a little while ago Tatis is going to be on the COVID list, which is good for us competitive-wise, but kind of as a fan of the game, you just like watching the young guy play. But San Diego's always going to be fun and give us that playoff atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, and, they've got some dynamite pitching, too, that might give us fits, you hate to see anybody not play like a Tatis or, with the Phillies like a Bryce Harper, the superstars, you want to be able to compete against the best. But I did hear, too, that Busch Stadium is going to be kind of expanding capacity here soon and almost doubling, I believe, the capacity that they're allowing so far. So, not to transition from one COVID subject to the next, but that'll be exciting, too, to have more fans at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, they're going to double, so you'll be going from, almost to 30,000 people, basically. Yeah, from 14, basically, to 28 or what have you. But, Larry, the Brewers, we're going to find this to be an interesting test. They've got good starting pitching, so we're going to see how the bats look. I think it's a good test, but you got to figure even without Tatis going and playing the Padres in San Diego, it's going to be a kind of a good measuring stick, a good test to see kind of what this team looks at playing against a competitive team like San Diego.
Yeah, the West Coast trip seems always to kind of show you where you're at in the lineup and such, because, you get out there in the West Coast, you get the Giants, the Dodgers, and them now. Then, of course, when you're out there and you play Arizona and Colorado, you kind of predict that you're going to get a W or a series win. But when you're playing that young group from San Diego, man, that's tough. They were they're picked to win the World Series by most experts that I've read. Of course, we know this Tatis story. The kid is just, he's probably the second best player in the major leagues right now. I still say Trout's still the better player overall, but that's going to be, we're going to see what we gauge against them, I think. So.
Yeah, no, it should be fun either way. And it's kind of good to see how the Cardinals are going to start lining up with some of these other elite teams. Then after that, they're going to head off to Busch Stadium. They're going to play a short 2-game series. They're going to have an off day next Monday. 2 games with the Pirates, the expanded capacity like Chris had been. And then I believe they're off again on Thursdays. 2 off days come pretty close there. And then you're going to see Cardinals welcome the Cubs to town. This will be the first matchup with the Cubs coming up, but we'll have another podcast before then. But that's just giving us an early outlook of the schedule. And if you didn't know, you didn't join us on Monday night, the 10th, we had Cardinal Cuts live with Chris Lawless. It was a Facebook live thing we wanted to put on for our group and page. We're doing it once a month. So if you're able to stop in and check that out and submit your questions for Chris to answer, we appreciate it. If not, please check it out. It's on our YouTube channel now. You can go see the episode. We've uploaded it. And then coming up next Monday, we've got Conversation with the Nation, which is kind of a roundtable type discussion. That'll be live here on YouTube. It'll be at 7 o'clock Central Time on Monday the 17th. Since there's no game, that's when we're trying to line up these live shows. We try to do two a month. So please check us out if you have the time. And guys, I want to finish out the episode with probably this will probably take up most of our discussion we've had, but start with the Hall of Fame. I want to go back to the Hall of Fame, and we haven't really talked about it much this year, and we've talked, and we even thought maybe we'll do a special episode. But Larry, going to you first. It's the last year in the booth for Mike Shannon. 50 years of broadcasting. He's really been the voice of the Cardinals since we lost Jack Buck. Even before then, he's had some iconic calls. But just your thoughts real quick on Shannon retiring and this being his last year in the booth on a limited basis.
You hate to see these guys age, but you kind of look forward to seeing some of the younger guys take over. But Mike Shannon, like I said, in the past, some of the memorable calls, some of the not so memorable, but it's definitely always good to hear him in the booth. And I'm a history guy. I like history, so I hate to see it go. But yeah, it's definitely time. 50 years is a long time to be a part of this organization. The guys I grew up listening to or watching or seeing on the field, they're kind of leaving. I mean, they're just kind of going away, either passing away or stepping down and passing the torch. It's kind of a sad mixed day for me. So,
yeah, me too. I mean, I know Jack Buck is the voice for a lot of people, but Mike Shannon, is an iconic voice, and a lot of people have known him for years, and it will be different not hearing him, but I think it's probably time. We saw Vin Scully recently and now Mike Shannon, but the times of these great radio announcer personalities, I would say the Cardinals probably had one of the best followings just because of the reach of KMOX, Chris, but the radio announcers being, prolific and everyone knowing who they are is kind of starting to be a thing of the past. It's kind of a changing of the guard almost of not just technology, but guys like Shannon and those calls going away. It's going to be all, television stuff now. It's going to be, for everyone going forward, it's going to be McLaughlin, I think. That's who these people are going to know.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, people more tune in now on television than they do listen on the radio. On television, you got Danny Mac, who's obviously, I believe, one of the best in the business. When you pair him up with Brad Thompson or Jim Edmonds, I think you get a little bit of a different kind of vibe when each one kind of joins him, but both are enjoyable. I like listening to those guys. As far as Shannon goes, I have listened to quite a few Cardinal games this season, and I hate to say it, but it is time for him to go. He is slipping a lot, and John Rooney does carry a lot of that broadcast. Shannon does do his Shannonisms from time to time, but I believe going forward it'll probably be Ricky Horton and Mike Claiborne that kind of take the reins as far as filling that void with John Rooney. But Mike Shannon has had a great run. He's legendary. Just the way that he is on the mic, but bringing some humor along with, the stories that he tells. It's always funny when you hear happy birthday to all the moms out there on Mother's Day. Just some of the crazy things he comes up with, he'll definitely be missed.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've even heard a couple of commercials stuff he's done. He just doesn't sound the same. And unfortunately, that's father time catching up like it does with everybody. Like Larry mentioned, a lot of these guys going away. And it's just time, and we're going to have a lot of great memories. And, a lot of these guys benefit, something different that they have that we don't, is people are going to remember them and their voice, and they're going to be part of, Cardinals Nation and Cardinals history for forever, basically. So they're going to be forever cemented, just like Jack Buck is now. So, but I do think a lot of the announcers and the golden voices of before are starting to kind of fizzle out and go away, unfortunately. And I think Claiborne is going to take over most of that, but he's not a young guy himself. And You're probably right with Ricky Horton because we haven't heard from him very much on the broadcast this year. It seems to be kind of a heavy load of Brad Thompson and Jim Edmonds, who I'm fine with. I like hearing those guys work, and I actually like the commentary and the back and forth that McLaughlin gives, and there's even some comedy in there if you pick up on it. Their dry humor I do enjoy. Now, moving on from Mike Shannon, one of the greatest in the booth of all time, let's go to one of the greatest in the field of all time, guys. Albert Pujols, designated for assignment and going to be leaving the Angels organization. It was a shock to us and to, veteran players and Hall of Famers alike, even some players on the Angels staff. But I got to ask you guys your thoughts. There's a lot going on. I'm going to run through a couple of things real quick before I go to you guys. He's got 10,925 at bats, 3,253 hits. Yeah, he's sitting at 667 home runs. He's got a career 298 batting average, which is pretty impressive because he's had some down years here and with the Angels. 1,852 runs, 2,112 RBIs, 115 stolen bases. He's got a 376 on-base percentage and a career 921 OPS, which is pretty amazing. This was his 10th year in LA. He's been 11 in St. Louis, but of those 3,200 hits, over 2,000, almost 2,100 came with the Cardinals. Of the 667 home runs, 445 came in St. Louis, so he's basically hit about 200 with the Angels. 1,329 of his RBIs were with the Cardinals. It was just over 2,000, so he's got about 800 with the Angels, so you can just kind of compare his production. His St. Louis average was 328, so he had a 420 on-base percentage with the St. Louis Cardinals through his 11 years in St. Louis, a 617 slugging percentage, and a 1037 OPS. The guy's been amazing, and we've been lucky to watch him when he got called up and come in, probably one of the greatest baseball players of all time. His last full season, 2019, he had 23 home runs and 93 RBIs. So he is not he hit 244 that year, which wasn't great, but 305 on-base percentage. We've definitely seen guys do a lot worse. In the new age of baseball, batting averages being good are a thing of the past. The strikeout is the new norm. But, Albert's been pretty amazing in just some of those numbers, and his time with St. Louis has been iconic. Just, Chris, let me get your general thoughts on what you think about the DFA and, his time with the Angels.
I mean, it was shocking to hear that that's the way they wanted to handle it. I mean, I know we talked about this last night on our show, but they've got Walsh as first baseman, and they've got Ohtani as a DH, and so his at-bats were going to be sporadic. Albert still productive. I mean, he's not as productive as he used to be, obviously. Father Time catches up with him as well. But, yeah, I was surprised that was the route that they went, and with them DFAing him, obviously no team's going to pick up that amount of money. He'll clear waivers, and then it's a matter of what a team's going to offer him playing time-wise. I mean, you're going to get him for the, minimum, but it's what teams have a fit for him, and he'll have to pick and choose, what that fit looks like. Ideally, I know a lot of Cardinal fans want him back. I would love to see it, to have a kind of a nice send-off and, him maybe wrap up with a World Series championship with Molina and Wainwright. I don't think you could script a better story than that happening. But he's not going to play every day over Goldschmidt. If playing time is the reason why he wanted out of, the Angels organization, then I don't know that the Cardinals are going to be the team that gives him what he's looking for. But LaRusse has kind of shut down rumor that they would be interested because they don't have a fit. It just kind of depends on, what he's looking for. I don't think he's wanting to sit out too long because there has been report that he could play for the, Dominican in the Olympics. He could do that coming up, but I don't know. I'd like to see the Cardinals, at least show some interest and see if that couldn't be done, because I think the merchandise and the fanfare would more than cover what it would cost to bring him back.
Yeah, you're right. And with us relying on our bench less and less this year with, players being solidified in the lineup, You wouldn't see him too much, but it kind of goes down to what Chris said, Larry, what he's going to be looking for, what he's willing to accept. You have to figure a lot of teams out there aren't going to be offering him a starting first baseman, role regardless if that's what he wants or not. But Albert still has some production left, and I think he can produce more than some of these guys out there. The Twins have Miguel Sano, who has not been well at all. There's a lot of underperforming guys. Dominic Smith for the Mets, he's been playing some first base. He's been horrible, but I think you can still find a spot, for him. There's a lot of bad contracts in baseball, so for them to release him in his final year, where he's been kind of in a mentor role, also, just kind of a shocker, huh, Larry?
Yeah, we kind of hit on this before we started the show tonight. There's some bad blood there somewhere. It just left unsaid. I agree with Chris. I would like to see him come back as a Cardinal, even if it's a short stint.
Bad blood with the Angels, you mean, right?
With the Angels, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Between him and Madden or him and the GM or whoever, maybe it was over playing time. We don't know. We'll never know for sure. It's a he said, she said type thing right now. But I would like to see him come back with the Cardinals if in some capacity. What I could actually envision him is him and Yachty and Waino being the staff of some minor league team together, all three of them, to start their stint. I could see him working in Florida with Oquendo or somebody like that, because he is a hell of a mentor. He even talked to, that's what first thing Trout said was he was his mentor when he came up. The thing is, I just don't see him getting that playing time, because I think if he does play every day, I think that batting average really does dip then. I just don't think he's got the health ability to stay and play every day unless it is a DH. But the other thing I could see is if some team picked him up as a novelty, kind of like, hey, look who we have, future Hall of Famer, trying to get to 700 home runs, that kind of a thing. I wish there was a spot. I wish the DH was here this year. Then it would be a no-brainer. I mean, it'd be just flat out, bye-bye Matt Carpenter, hello Albert Pujols. But I just don't see it happening here. And I thought his best shot was maybe land with Tony. That's not going to happen either, according to these rumors. But, again, we've always heard that in the past. People aren't interested in it once they are. Albert's place in Cardinal history is, I'm sorry, he's the best player of my lifetime. I mean, that is simple said. There is no other player in Major League Baseball has had the impact that man has had in baseball. He had the smartest IQ of baseball that I've ever seen in any single player from the very beginning. I know the Cardinals fans, we have this statue out front of Stan the Man, but I'm sorry, I think Albert was his height of his career was the best Cardinal player. And that's saying a lot. And I love Ozzie Smith and I love Stan the Man. I love Gibby as much as anybody. But Albert, he could turn that whole stadium electrified with a one swing of a bat. How many times you ever see that man steal second base at his size? In the right time. He knew when to do it. And that's the difference, is that a lot of fans didn't get to see that. Brad Lidge, some places still crying. I don't know. I can hear him off the distance somewhere. So I do have fond memories of Albert. I don't blame the guy for the way he left. He got more money. I'm not turning up $30 million. You give me $30 million, I'm going. I don't care. And I'm sorry if that hurts some fans' feelings and they want to, it's just about being, he wanted more money or greed or whatever. We don't know what happened in closed doors negotiations. He was disrespected. As a man, I can understand that. So
speaking of him being electric, I mean, his return to, play against the Cardinals, and hit a home run, and our crowd went bananas, with him, an opposing player hitting a home run. You would have felt like he was wearing the birds on the bat, So, I mean, the impact that he's had, I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, I'll admit I was bitter too when he left, but I wasn't out burning Pujols jerseys or anything like that. I understand it's a business, and if the Cardinals could find a way to bring him back, if he would accept, that kind of a role, which I don't think he will, I think it could be a storybook ending, that all Cardinal fans would, be on board with.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to retire, but you have to think if he goes to another team and is not playing every day, then it kind of becomes, I think if he doesn't come back to St. Louis, it's going to be it's going to tarnish a little bit, because it's going to be his third team. He's going to go there for, the rest of this year, and it's just going to be, awkward on the back of his baseball card, I guess. Maybe that's just what I'm thinking about, but I just don't think it helps him wearing another uniform. I think it would look weird, but I mean, he was a 10-time All-Star, 3-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 2-time World Series champion. He won 2 Gold Gloves. He won 6 Silver Slugger awards, and he's got a batting title in his time with St. Louis. But there's nothing the guy didn't do, and he was a Gold Glove first baseman. But we all knew, those of us that are more of an educated fan, we all knew from the start that this was not going to be a good contract, and it was going to turn out that way. And it has turned out that way. Now, the Angels are smart enough to know it shouldn't have worked, but the Angels made a lot of bad business decisions. So people shouldn't be surprised. The Angels have spent a lot of money on a lot of people, and it hasn't paid off. They've got the best player in the entire game currently with Mike Trout. They've been to the playoffs one time, and they lost to the Royals. And every year they just cannot find a way to compete. They've spent a lot of money. They went on and got C.J. Wilson the same year they had Albert. They had the huge Josh Hamilton contract. They went out and signed, Chris Young was there too, but who's the other guy that's Upton? Upton's there. Ohtani.
Rendon, the best third baseman that was available at the time, they bring him in.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that they can justify with, it's going to be harder for a National League team because we don't have a DH, but Ohtani and Jared Walsh has been a stud. I mean, you can't sit the guy. And the bad thing about Albert and his age is there's really nowhere for them to put him, but you think he would have more value. They have to pay him anyways. You think you would want that, that mind and that presence of him just being a mentor in the clubhouse and on the bench would be way better than doing what they currently did. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But the Angels are not good business people. It just makes sense. They've got a lot of bad contracts on their books, and it shows. And they've still got John Jay. So
I think a lot of those. I mean, we went through that with the Rangers back in the day. They get a new owner. They want to make that big splash. So they go out and spend a bunch of money, and they're just bad contracts. The Mets. How many years have we listened to that crap? The Yankees have basically become non-existent. Realistically, because they just dump all that money. Then there's several other teams that have followed suit. But then you watch teams like Oakland or the Twins on minimal salaries, they compete. The Cardinals, year in and year out, whether people like it or not, we're competitive. We don't spend the big bucks. Yeah, we went and got Arenado. That satisfied a lot of people's thirst for that big contract, but call me in about 5 years and let me know how the Padres are doing with 3 guys in their infield over $300 million, and that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, I guess they only have 2 guys over $300 million. I guess the first baseman's not getting that much, but so that's the thing. It's just, you can spend and spend and spend, but where the Dodgers right now as of today, Tuesday, May 11th, where are they right now in the standings and how much money is their payroll? I enjoy the memories the guy brought just as much as the next guy, but at some point you got to, let's not call Ozzie Smith back to play shortstop this year either. So.
No, but I joked with Jared, and I said this before too, that Pujols has more home runs than Carpenter has hits this season. So, I mean, it's not going to hurt my feelings to bring him back to St. Louis if that's the role that he would take. But, we also talked too that because of this maybe falling out with the Angels, he had said that he was going to go into Cooperstown with neither logo on a hat. I think this might, shift to where the Cardinals are the logo on the cap when he goes to Cooperstown.
Yeah, the one thing that Albert has in his favor is, you guys know the way he has been throughout the years and the way he's competitive. If he does somehow, some way, find a team that's going to sign him to something, he's going to have a lot of determination behind him. He's going to have a lot of willpower to do what he can to get the job done and perform this year. So that would be one thing that the team picking up Albert would have in their favor, is his drive and dedication to, make something out of it and to be a productive member of the team.
The Rays did DFA their DH Yoshi today, so that might be a team that, might have some interest in Albert.
Yeah, he tried to do Albert originally tried to do a walk-on with them before he ever got signed, and they sent him home. But you have to think, too, also, guys, this does bring up a little bit of attention to guys like Matt Carpenter. If a guy like Pujols, can be DFA'd, guys like Carpenter who are doing less are still hanging on for some reason. I think that kind of draws more attention to Carpenter, in my opinion. And you've got a lot of those bad contracts. Larry, you mentioned San Diego. One thing San Diego, I think, has done with him being the National League but they have signed these guys being super young. Albert had already been around for 11 years when they gave him his contract. But then you've got guys like Chris Davis for the Orioles, all these big money contracts. Even Miguel Cabrera, at the back end. this deal here. These guys just are not performing. So it's something, the players still want that big money, and the collective bargaining agreement at the end of the year is going to come up, and like Larry said, and like we said last night on Cardinal Cuts Live on Facebook, Chris, is, if we had the DH, it would be a lot easier case to be made to bring Albert in. So it's just another kind of, stubbing your toe thinking what could have been. Yeah, the one thing I was going to say that, would be kind of neat in this scenario, and we talked about before, signing Albert didn't make financial sense before in the past, but, now if the Cardinals were to go out and make him an offer, it would be for the major league minimum, which would be, minimal dollars. And we talked about this last night, Chris, and you just brought it up a minute ago, is, selling his jersey in the team store, his memorabilia. St. Louis loves him. Not that they have a trouble selling tickets anyways, but to see him play with Wainwright and Yachty to kind of finish out. He's always said he wants to retire with Yachty. The way they could go into Cooperstown together, basically being first ballot Hall of Famers. But this could be a situation to where, at the beginning of this year, Albert didn't know if he wanted to play another year or not. But I'm taking a far reach here if the Cardinals were to sign him. It could be a potential 2-year deal because we have to think and expect that the National League is going to have the DH next year. Pending there's no lockout, which I don't think there will be. But it would be something to where he could come back to St. Louis and maybe prolong. And if Waino and Yachty are going to go again, maybe Albert could also, because I think the rosters are all going to expand by a number. And, give him some kind of incentivized contract if he wants to play an extra year. But just spitballing and thinking, but that's definitely something you could see happen. And the Cardinals would make money off of this deal, not lose money. That's why it was such a bad deal to sign him before. And that's just what I was trying to say. Now it's financial sense. Makes financial sense just with the accolades, finishing out his career, and then like next year, if he signs that deal, he could do a proper farewell tour, have a proper send-off, selling jerseys. They would actually make money in this case. So in this case, we talk about baseball being a business. This would be good for the fans, and it would be a good business move, Chris.
Oh, I agree. You've got some guys coming off the books like a Matt Carpenter and, others that's going to free up money. Not that the money's going to be that big of an issue, but when you've got, a chance
to also have Fowler's money.
Right. And the thing with the Cardinals is if they bring him in this they've already got Molina and Wainwright, who, if they're playing at this high level, I could see them wanting another 1-year deal. The DH will be in the National League next season, and you've got Arenado, who is in post-game interview, telling Albert, "Hey, you're my favorite player. If there's any chance of, hey, you can bring him over for the remainder of this year, let him kind of audition as far as have your pinch hit at bats. He can be your DH when we play against the American League teams. Sorry, Carp, you can just, be a spectator for those games. But, if you could bring him over for that and then, bring him back next year where the stadium will be at full capacity, you would imagine, and have that be the farewell of him, Yachty and Molina, basically knowing they could go out together, man, it makes all the sense in the world. No reason not to.
Be one for the storybooks for sure. It'd be all over Sports Illustrated and all over the TV networks if they were going to go out the final 3 and have a farewell tour. And it'd be an event, a spectacle at every stadium. When the Cardinals come to play, even in places like Chicago, it'd be a big deal. Everyone's going to be, and it would be nice to see you get goosebumps talking about it. Even like Albert in Chicago, those fans would probably give him a standing ovation just after everything they've seen him accomplish, just playing there and having the opportunity to go out on his own terms, and I think he has earned that regardless. I know these guys make a lot of money, but I think earning that and giving him an incentivized deal, just like you talked about, Chris, with Carp off the books next year, Fowler's money, Andrew Miller will not be coming back. That's going to be a huge chunk of change. Cardinals are going to have a lot of money, and then maybe at the trade deadline, let's just take another step, right, Larry, and say maybe they'll go out and get Max Scherzer, so we got the Missouri boy and the guys that started with St. Louis. This could be a hell of a year going into next year. Holy cow. I'm going to call Mo.
Yes, do it. Which part of that?
That's the shortest answer.
That was the answer ever. I got out a short answer, and you want me to long and make it longer. I don't know what.
What would you give up for Scherzer, Larry? What would you offer him?
Well, they need a catcher, so I know we got a backup catcher we could give up.
What's his name?
Which one? We got 3 or 4 we can give up. Knizner, we can give up him. We can trade a guy named Ponce de Leon. We could give up I know there's a guy that
Ponson going to get you anything.
Well, yeah,
I don't think you can trade Ponce right now.
He's on the IL. You can't.
Well, I mean, even if he was, I don't think he'd bring anything. But I get where you're going. You're going to make the. This is kind of a fun exercise. Go. What would you give up, Larry?
You could give up a Jake Woodford. You can give up. A Gorman. I mean, it's not like we need him now anyway. Where's he going to play? Well, we're getting Albert a DH. We don't need Gorman now, Chris. You got to stay with your stories, big boy. You can't have both DHs. No, I would never trade Gorman. I'm sorry. I like the kid. I mean, we've got a plethora of pitching arms out there. We've got 3 or 4 catchers we could donate. There's several outfielders.
3 or 4 catchers we could donate.
If we got Herrera, man, we don't need anybody else. Hell with it. Hell, Yachty, and then Herrera's sitting there waiting his turn. Right now, what do they need? I mean, that's going to be the other thing. We've got players in the minor leagues you could donate. That's why I call it donate, because it seems like we always get these guys for spare parts. So let's give them some spare parts.
Yeah, I think the Nationals are better than that, though. Chris, you're Rizzo. Okay. What do you have to have for Max Scherzer?
Oh, I think they're hurting for a catcher, so Kisner's going to be part of that deal. Or he would be probably the big ask from
and
them.
He would be expendable for us,
right? Their outfield. I mean, I don't really think they have a need for an everyday outfielder, but maybe you throw in a Lane Thomas, give me a Woodford, and maybe another prospect, and that might get it done. I mean, because you're looking at he's a free agent at the end of the season. Could be a rental, but I know Scherzer's going to want to try to get max return, for the Nationals.
Well, I think Kinsler is going to be in the deal, like both of you guys already said. But I think it's going to take one of our top 3. It's going to take Gorman, Liberatore, or Thompson is going to have to be included in that deal. And I could see like a Woodford or somebody like that being a toss-in piece, but I think it's going to take a couple of good pieces. And Kinsler would be a good piece to include, but I think it's definitely going to take one of our big ones to get somebody like Scherzer.
Would you think maybe an Oviedo over maybe a Liberatore or Thompson? Or do you think?
I don't think so. I think Rizzo's going to want to, how they are with their pitchers. They're going to want pitching in return, and they're not going to be like Colorado, unfortunately, and say, just give us somebody that's kind of so-so. They're going to say, we want potential ace. I mean, I could see Oviedo being part of a deal if you throw someone in that's, sort of close to him. I don't know what you would do. I could even maybe see Carlos Martinez being part of that deal to give him an extra year and offset a little bit of money.
Yeah, you could see them wanting like Thompson, go after Thompson, because Cardinals 2 left-handers that you're both got Liberatore and Thompson, both left-handers. So the Cardinals aren't looking to start both of them next year. So one of those could actually go. Then you got, like you said, probably Kinsler's going to go. Then maybe a third base prospect, the Mendoza, one of those guys that we were high on last year that are struggling this year. Maybe that's a good fit, because since Rondon left, their third base is kind of up in the air. Who right now they've got a first baseman, don't they play? I have to look, but
they got Josh Bell and Zimmerman still.
Yeah, Zimmerman, he's the backup. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, and Josh he's one of those players that have actually developed into a nice player from his days in Pittsburgh, but he's still the error-prone first baseman. So you could see them wanting a better first baseman. So maybe one of our prospects that we like with those big kids. What's the kid's name I'm thinking of? We thought he was going to go in the Arenado deal.
Lucan
Baker, yeah, that's the kid I was thinking of. Maybe somebody like that.
Yeah, somebody like him or Juan Yepez or somebody like that, someone that can play first.
But even like a Reyes, maybe they want somebody in the back end, like a Reyes or a Hicks. I mean, they'll ask for the moon, whether we give it to him or not. It's beside the point.
Yeah. Hicks won't bring him anything with being injured. He's not even gonna. No. He's gonna be on the team for a while. I could see a bullpen piece or 2, but it's not even going to be a main part of. They're going to want 4 pieces, and they're all going to have to be something substantial. Just the way, and Scherzer, the way he keeps pitching, his asking price is going to keep going up. Unfortunately, keep striking mofos out. But I think that's all we have. That was kind of fun going around the hot stove. You know, we won't get crazy, but maybe more we get toward the trade deadline, we'll start throwing out some of these scenarios and piecing together our own what if trades that we think would benefit the Cardinals. But Larry, do you have anything in closing, sir?
No, sir.
Chris?
I just, again, want to thank everybody that tunes in and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Some of the viewers that do tune in aren't subscribers. They're just catching it from the link that we put out on our Facebook page or on Twitter. So if you are a subscriber already, we appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and help us out with sharing this content on your Facebook timeline, on Twitter, or anywhere else that you can share it. We'd appreciate it.
That's all we have time for. So thank you all for joining us and jumping on live shows. Don't forget to join us on Monday the 17th at 7 Central here on YouTube for a live conversation with the nation. And we appreciate you stopping by and checking us out. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, share. For the living legend Larry Cox and the founder Chris, the Bearded Dragon Lawless, myself, I'm Jared Redwine. Thank you, and go Cards.
Go Cards.
Go Cards.
Be a rock star.
That's right. It's our logo for the year.
I'm through with standing in line because I never get in. It's like the bottom of the ninth.
At our banquet, they give out these stars, and I said, "So how come you didn't play that song?" And they go, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah. We all just want to live in hilltop houses driving 15 cars.
That's right.
Girls come easy and the drugs come cheap. It would be a good company theme song.
Yeah, sounds like it would be.
Well, stay skinny because we just won't eat. And Miles Mikolas still looks like shit.
Here we go.
Eat up, motherfuckers. Eat up.
Yep. Hey, I'm having a brain fart real quick. What was the GM we had before Mozeliak?
Walt Jockey.
Why? Chris is all jacked up.
He's jacked up, man.
How many?
He needs to do the Chris Lawless. He needs to do his now, right now. He needs to do his. He needs to do his right now. Do it, Chris. That's me on a usual.
Come here, you little bearded dragon ball head.
Oh my God.
Walt Jockey. Oh, fuck me.
Don't forget to mention our proud sponsor, Uranus Fudge.
Yeah, the Uranus Fudge Factory. That we're working on getting a sponsor for them.
Good, Chris.
Yeah.